We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, the podcast where we dive deep into the art of songwriting, chat with some of the most exciting artists in the world and explore the stories behind their songs. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and thank you for joining us. Our guests this week on the podcast are indie rock four-piece, the Belair Lip Bombs. The Melbourne band first formed in high school, blending the spirit of classic rock bands like Television and the Rolling Stones with the modern edge and grit of bands like The War on Drugs and Pavement. After years of gigging and supporting the likes of Slowly Slowly and Tide Line around Australia, the band broke through with their 2023 debut, Lush Life, a record that not only earned widespread acclaim, but also caught the attention of one Jack White, who went on to sign them to his iconic Third Man Records, making them the first Australian band ever to join the label. This week, the Belair Lip Bombs return with their sophomore album titled Again, an evolution of their sound that still holds true to their DIY indie roots. On the podcast today, we're joined by guitarist Mike Bradvica and drummer Dan Dev Devlin to chat all about Again. We dive into the songwriting across the record, break down the track Price of a Man, and discuss what it's like being the first Aussie band to sign to Jack White's Third Man Records. We also chat about the band's global touring plans in support of this brand new album. Now, we want to say a massive thank you to Amber for her help with today's episode and remind everyone that the brand new Belair Lip Bombs record, Again, is out everywhere tomorrow. You can find links in today's show notes on where you can purchase the record, stream the record, grab tickets to their upcoming tour, and follow the band across all of their socials. While you are in the show notes, please make sure you subscribe to This Song Is Yours and go and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We would love it if you did. It really does help us out and it ensures that you stay up to date with new episodes, guests, and all of the fun things that we've got going on. Now let's get into it. Here is our conversation with the Belair Lip Bombs. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Mike Bradvica and Daniel Dev Devlin from the Belair Lip Bombs. Gentlemen, hello. How's it going?
Very good. Very good.
Simon, how are you?
Thanks for having us.
Doing very well. My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming to have a chat with us today and spend some time on the podcast. I'm super excited because there's a brand new Belair Lip Bombs album out this week. When people are listening to our conversation, it is called Again. It's a beautiful record. Firstly, congratulations to you both on this record. How are you guys feeling? How's the band feeling about this second record coming out?
Oh, thanks so much. Firstly, for the kind words. We're stoked. We're really excited to have it out in the world. It feels like, the classic thing of we've been sitting with it for a little while, and we're just really excited for people to hear it and get feedback.
100%. When you go into the second album kind of cycle, was there much that you knew was going to change this time around? I guess there's always that, what is it, the I want to say dreaded, with like inverted commas, the dreaded second record, that difficult follow-up. Was there any kind of that mentality going into it this time around, or did you guys find that the second record came with quite a bit of ease?
I feel it was a bit daunting, this looming thing. I feel like a lot of people are looking at us now more than when we just released the first record. But yeah, we don't let it bother us. Still another bit out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for this one, it was for this record. We were obviously touring a lot in the middle of trying to make it and write it and record it and everything. So that posed the challenge. And then also, working jobs and things like that in between obviously makes it a bit harder to get into that creative mode. But I think we did a good job at finding little pockets over the last 12 months to just lock in and work on music and nut it out. And then I think this time, I don't know, it was probably different to Lush Life, but I think we had a bit of a larger chunk of times in the studio to record. And we were also able to write a bit in the studio, which helped us, get it over the line, which was great.
I love that though. I think, as you mentioned, Mike, that there are some more eyeballs on the band this time around, which is very, very exciting. I wanted to talk about this a little bit later, but it seems like the perfect time now. In between that first record, Lush Life, and this one coming out, the band has had the incredible kind of fortune, which I absolutely love for you guys, of signing to Third Man Records, the label owned by Jack White himself. The first Australian band to do so as well. So kudos to both of you. That's a very kind of exciting thing. I imagine that, that kind of environment or that kind of accolades does then come with its own set of pressures when being in the studio and writing the music and those kind of things as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think the good thing with Third Man for us was we met them, like before we signed with them, we met their London crew at the Great Escape Festival last year. And I think just meeting them and you seeing the people who work really hard behind the scenes and all of that made it less of a daunting thing, that it's not just this big figurehead, like Jack White, who's obviously we all love his music and the White Stripes and everything, but seeing the human side behind what keeps a label running kind of made it less stressful in a way. But I guess the headline's always going to be Jack White,
I imagine that there's an element of that for certain publications and certain things like that you will find that there is a much shorter headline, but hopefully the fact that that it is under that Third Man banner and that they do, not just Jack, but their whole teams do seem to put a lot of care and love into everything that they do. I think that London store and kind of recording studio just is incredible when you go there, and everyone who works there seems to have like an immense love for what they do as well, which I think must be indicative of like a good place or a good team to be a part of.
Yeah, when we met Camille and Molly, that was like very nice. And even like when we've been doing the album, they've been like they like let us do our thing, and they've like checking in on us every once in a while. But they've been a very good first big label to be with. Yeah,
I absolutely love that. I think that, well, obviously it has allowed the band and yourselves to produce another fantastic record. With this album, I know that it was not just yourselves behind production. I think for the first time it was, and I want to make sure I'm getting their name correct, Nao and Anzai.
Oh, Now Anzai, yeah.
There we go. Apologies now. And Joe White. So not Jack White, but different White, Joe White.
Different White, yeah.
Yeah. What was that process like of bringing some producers on board this time around? And I guess what was that dynamic like from previous iterations of recording?
Well, Now was he recorded us and did all the mixing and everything. But he did that for Lush Life as well. And he did have like a bit of a hand in Lush Life, just like giving his 2 cents every now and then. But for this record, he definitely like put more of an input in. He was like, because he's so invested. Same with Joe. Like Joe White's just offered to do help us out with like the good of his heart, essentially.
Yeah, and it was really great having Joe, who is he's a great musician in his own right, playing in Rolling Blackouts and Cash Savage, and he has his own solo music as well, but just has like years of experience playing, which I guess makes a difference for us, for like a first time producer, having someone who's also like a really great musician, I think helps with some of the compositional stuff in the studio, but also just kind of has a good knack for melody and things like that. And then Now is obviously, he's a musician as well, but has like 30 plus years of experience in audio engineering and producing records and recording. So yeah, it's like we're very lucky to get to work with them, especially while you are going through those like teething pains of trying to finish a second record.
100%. It was a record that I think sonically it still is very much a Belair Lip Bombs record, but there is sonically something that does sound ever so slightly different about it. And I'm not sure if it is because, you've got these producers on board or whether there is the, and it doesn't sound like it's the case of, that you've now got a worldwide label and that they're interjecting. It sounds like they pretty much allowed you to do your thing, which is awesome. When it came to the sonics of the record, was there anything that yourselves or the other band members wanted to achieve in either progressing that sound or still maintaining, Lip Bombs' sonic kind of structure, but just evolving it ever so slightly?
Yeah, I think there were definitely a few things that stick out. I think for Maisie, I remember her saying she wanted it to be maybe a bit more of a singular voice in the songs. And I remember her and Joe working on that a bit. So, in Lush Life, there's lots of harmonies which are amazing. And there are a lot of harmonies on this record as well, obviously. But maybe, it's a bit easier to translate live and being a bit more direct with vocal lines. So things like that. And then a song like Hey You, we really tried to lean into making it like a big sounding, indie, mid-2000s kind of produced sounding song, which I think kind of pushed everyone who was involved in that process, including Now and Joe. So I think, it was cool. Like, I think we were all kind of pushing the limits of the studio and our own abilities behind the instruments we're playing.
I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
Yeah, we had like, no, you're right. We had like, because Lush Life, we just like wrote it and recorded it whenever during our own time. Whereas we had a deadline this time, so we like locked in 2 weeks of studio time. I think it was 2 weeks, which was good because like we all took work off and just like properly focused on the album. So like there was like a lot more experimentation, a lot more like doing whatever we wanted, and then like scrapping that, doing something else. So that was really good for helping write the album.
It seems like that from what it sounds like, obviously sometimes those second records can be like not cumbersome to make, but it sounds like it was pretty much on the whole like a pretty organic but also enjoyable experience to make this record in terms of both being allowed to experiment and have moments of I guess executing that vision that you wanted for the record. I was wondering whether you guys might indulge me a little bit. I was hoping to talk about one of my favorite tracks on the record. I know that for a lot of indie bands and rock bands, that the last track or the closing track, unless it's like a concept record, might be like somewhat of an afterthought. But for this record, Price of a Man, that closing track is just as strong, if not like stronger than some of the other tracks right at the top of that track listing. I thought it was a fantastic track. Mike, I'm going to say some excellent guitar work on your behalf, so kudos. I'm wondering whether you guys might share where Price of a Man kind of came from, or like what was the creation of that song kind of like?
I think that's the song we wrote that, or Sammy wrote it, came up with it during sound check in Brussels. And we just like everyone just did something and we're like, well, let's record this. And and then we took it to the studio, and it's for the track listing, because we were thinking of doing Burning Up last for it, but that seemed like an obvious sort of thing, like a downer last. Like, oh, let's put Price of a Man last instead, I think.
Yeah. And I think we were referencing a few things in the studio when we were experimenting. We were referencing like Kurt Weill and like MJ Lenderman and things like that, where they blend drum machines with organic drums. So I sort of posed that to Now and said, it could be cool to try some different drum machine sounds. And because we were in an analog studio, we could try out some actual, OG 80s drum machine sounds, which was cool. And it's something that I don't think any of us have ever done before on a song. So that was cool. It was like, it's great that you like that song. I think that's one of Maisie's favorites as well. And I know she spent a long time on the lyrics for that song, which, they're some of my favorite on the record.
It is definitely a track that I'm just, again, the whole record is fantastic. I'll continue to sing its praises as we discussed, but I thought that it was very impressive that throughout the track listing there was, as you kind of mentioned, Mike, the thought of you don't want to end on a slower track or it kind of like fades out, that there was obviously intention when you guys built the track listing for this record. Wondering whether both of you might be able to kind of go through, we are primarily like a songwriting podcast here, and it does sound like that within the band, the dynamic is that you're able to have your own decision of how you want to play. Dev, you just mentioned then, like suggestions of drum machines with the drums and trying different things as well. Wondering, and we might go Dev, you first and then Mike second, what was your introduction to making music or kind of songwriting?
Yeah, well, I started drumming. My dad was a drummer when he was younger, but he doesn't drum anymore, but he was very into music in his 20s and managed bands and things like that. So, yeah, I've always had super supportive parents. Both parents are creative. And, yeah, so I started playing music when I was pretty young and then just started playing in bands in early high school. And then I think I met Mike at a gig in Frankston when we were both probably 19 or 20. I think we were it was an underage show and we were trying to smoke out of people's vision, out of the kids' vision. And, you know, you make some of your best friendships in smoking areas.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, Mike's is probably pretty different to mine, I think.
Yeah, my dad's also was a singer when he was younger, so he's always like pushed me musically. But I picked up guitar when I was like 10, I think. I was like obsessed with Guitar Hero, and Dad was like, "Hey, you kind of like this," so he got me guitar lessons, and then yeah, pretty much did classical guitar, all that stuff, all that high school stuff, and then yeah, started the band. Outside of the band, like practice writing my own thing, like just on like Logic and GarageBand, just like experimenting, doing my own thing. But that I don't share that to anyone. It's just for me. But yeah, that's pretty much my music journey.
I think it's totally normal though to have a bit of not even a side project, but it's good to have an outlet to be obviously try different creative ideas, to be able to know what you like, what you don't like. And who knows, possibly one day we might see it on a Lip Bombs record. Who knows? It might be a thing of that album number 4 or 5, it kind of makes its way out.
Yeah, maybe. a fuzz version of Come Together.
Exactly.
Actually sounds really good.
With touring, I know that there's a number of dates kind of across the globe for you guys as we get to the end of the year, really. Full disclosure, and I'm giving away the game that I told us we weren't going to discuss, was the fact that we are recording slightly ahead of time. So although this is coming out the same week as the album in late October, that we're recording a little bit ahead of time. When this is coming out, you would have just wrapped up a US tour with Spacey Jane, I believe, which is very, very exciting, a number of dates on that tour. And then you're about a week out from starting your own European tour. I'm curious, from this record, and maybe Mike will start with you this time and then go to Dev, is there a certain track off the record you're really looking forward to being able to showcase on tour and kind of take into the live arena and play around with a bit?
Probably If You've Got the Time. That's one of my favorites off the record. It's just like very like classic guitar rock sort of stuff, and it's very danceable. And yeah, it's just like a fun song. I think that and Price of a Man, but I don't think we'll have Price of a Man figured out live for the tour. But yeah, it's fun soloing on those songs.
Totally fair. Dev, what about yourself?
Well, yeah, Mike just picked the 2 songs with the guitar solos on them. There's unfortunately no drum solos. No, I think maybe Cinema. I really love that song because it's so different to all of our other stuff, and it's kind of, you know, we really lent into the poppy kind of popisms of our sound. So, and we've been figuring out how to play it live, and it's really fun. yeah, we've just got a new like SPD drums pad sampler. So just figuring that out, and while we're going through the pains of the new live set and figuring it out, it'll only get better. So I think a song like that will hopefully become a bit of a staple in the live set at some point.
Look, very excited to see a number of these songs live. I think all fantastic choices. It does lead me to maybe a bit of a silly question, an obvious question, but has to be asked. As we are speaking, no Australian dates announced as of yet. Can we maybe expect a full Australian tour around the album in support?
Early next year.
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely going to do an album tour early next year, when we can fit it in, when we figure it out.
Totally fair, and I don't want to get anyone on this call in trouble, so we'll leave it at that. We'll kind of accept that and kind of wait for those dates.
I'll take the blame.
We'll make sure that whenever they are announced, we'll put them on the podcast socials and advertise and make sure that people are getting along. Hopefully, we're in Adelaide. Please feel free to come visit us and come play a show here, because we'd love to see you guys. We do usually end our conversations asking our guests what they're currently listening to. For yourself, Dev, I'll ask you first. Is there anything that's currently on high rotation at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much good music out at the minute. I was going to say, this album will be out by the time this airs, but I've been loving the new Greg Freeman singles. He's got a song called Curtain, which is one of my favourite songs of the year so far. And yeah, we saw Greg play in London the last time we were there. It was just like a 60 capacity venue. And yeah, he's an amazing songwriter, and he played with a whole group of session musicians that night. And we were I think we were a bit jet lagged watching him, but we were pretty blown away by, they'd figured out how to play together in the last 2 days. And we were like, shit, we've been playing together forever. And it's, so super inspiring, and I'm really keen for that album. And yeah, he's a lovely guy as well.
Of that. Mike, what about yourself?
I've been listening to a lot of Meat Puppets, like Up in the Sun. A lot of, like, they have like a lot of intricate, crazy guitar work. And like, it's the band that inspired Nirvana, so like they're doing something right, and I like their stuff. I guess. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Fantastic recommendations from both of you. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for sharing those. And also thank you very much for coming onto the podcast to chat about this brand new record. It is called Again. It is from the Belair Lip Bombs, and it's out this week. We'll make sure that there are links in the show notes for people to catch you on tour, buy this record, follow you across socials, do all the fun stuff. But Dev and Mike, thank you both for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. We appreciate it.
Happy Halloween.